316 South Koreans who were detained by U.S. immigration authorities are finally headed home. The South Korean government requested that they be allowed to depart without being handcuffed, and it's been confirmed they will not face any issues for future visits to the U.S.
미국 이민당국에 체포된 한국인 316명이 드디어 귀국길에 오르게 됩니다. 우리 정부는 이들이 신체적 속박 없이 신속하게 출국할 수 있도록 요청했고 향후 미국 재방문에 불이익이 없도록 보장받았다고 전해졌습니다.
Right. So after they came down so heavily on the Hyundai plant and rushed in with hundreds of police officers and handcuffed everybody and chained them all up, now they're kind of backpedaling a little bit and going much more softly towards this issue.
So the detained Koreans, they are finally coming back, but there have been some delays.
Well, right, because they wanted to make sure that they weren't treated like criminals because these aren't criminals. They're people who thought they had their visas right, who are actually, most of them, professionals, some engineers and people who are highly trained. So also Trump said that now he wanted them to stay behind to train American workers. So often what happens is they'll send the Koreans there to do the job and get it all set up, and then afterwards they'll come back to train the American workers.
그렇죠. 보통 이제 인프라스트럭처를 세우고 그다음에 현지 직원들을 트레이닝하기 위해서 우리가 직원을 보냈기 때문에 트럼프가 아니 마저 트레이닝하고 가라라고 해서 이렇게 딜레이가 생겼다고 합니다.
Right.
Now, I understand that the Korean Minister of Foreign Affairs met with his counterpart in the U.S. And what kind of discussions took place there?
Well, again, he didn't want them to be chained up on the way back because the immigration office, the ICE in the United States, is famously aggressive and they like to chain people up sometimes. So they wanted to make sure that that didn't happen, and that was agreed with because, again, these are not criminals. They're not people who are there to do anything wrong. They're there to do a job. And of course, this was a big issue in South Korea. It was made South Korea very upset, rightfully so. And South Korea is a very big investor and an important ally for America.
I mean, seeing the video footage, once again, if I were the family member of one of those workers, I would be so heartbroken.
Absolutely. It was shocking.
Right. So you said they tried to negotiate to be not chained up or to be handcuffed.
Right. Of course, handcuff is when you put handcuffs, like the police put handcuffs on a criminal when they catch them. It means to shackle or lock somebody's hands together.
그래서 handcuffed는 수갑을 찬이라는 뜻입니다. 사실 어원은 다른데 이거를 외울 때 cuff, 손목 something이라고 외우면 좋아요. 왜냐하면 handcuff, 손목에 그 수갑을 찬 거고 short cuff라고 하면은 그 셔츠의 손목 부분이고 cufflinks라고 하면은 그 셔츠의 손목 부분을 이제 쪼매주는 거잖아요. 그래서 어원이 사실은 굳이 따져보면 달라요. 하지만 cuff는 손목 something 이렇게 외우시면 좋습니다.
So the other thing that they've been assured of is that they will not face any issues on future visits to the United States because usually if you have problems with immigration in America, you're going to have difficulty getting back into the country if you ever go back. But they've been assured they won't face issues. So if issue usually means some sort of problem, some sort of trouble. So to face means to deal with it. So to deal with problems or face some sort of difficulty.
네, face issues, 어려움을 겪다라는 뜻이에요. face가 면이잖아요. 그래서 어려움을 직면하다 이런 뜻도 되고요. Instead of issues, as you suggested, you could also say you are facing difficulties or facing hardship. 다 같은 의미로 사용이 됩니다. Yeah, facing problems as well.
Yep, we all do sometimes.
Oh, every hour. Here's the article once again. 316 South Koreans who were detained by U.S. immigration authorities are finally headed home. The South Korean government requested that they be allowed to depart without being handcuffed, and it has been confirmed that they will not face any issues for future visits to the U.S.
고양이 수염님 says many people now are being detained because of traffic jams. I guess that's one way of being detained.
Yes. Very well done. 아주 응용을 너무너무 재밌게 잘 해주셨네요. Thumbs up to you.
A lot of our audience is in traffic right now.
Yes, listening to us while being stuck in the traffic.
The next thing we talked about was a massive protest dubbed the Block everything movement has spread across France in opposition to the government's austerity measures. Roads and schools have been shut down and hundreds have been arrested, leading to widespread unrest.
프랑스 전역에서 정부의 긴축 정책에 반발하는 대규모 시위, 이른바 국가마비 운동이 벌어졌습니다. 도로와 학교가 봉쇄되고 수백 명이 체포되는 등 혼란이 이어지고 있습니다.
네.
Okay, so large-scale protests across France. What's going on?
Well, basically what happened was the government tried to put into effect austerity measures, and people don't like that. And nobody protests like the French. That's why they have some of the shortest working hours in the world. So they've come out and protests have escalated across the country. And so they've been blocking roads and schools and railways, even setting fires. Actually, a fire broke out in a Korean restaurant in central Paris. And so shops have been setting up barricades. So it's been very chaotic.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned austerity measures. So they're not happy that the government's cutting back on its spending. Is that the main issue?
Right. Prime Minister François Bayrou, his government actually just... Why does that make you laugh? François Bayrou? Mm-hmm. His government just collapsed recently due to these austerity measures that he's tried to put in. And so the government is in a time of uncertainty, and the country in general is experiencing a lot of upheaval. It was initially a peaceful boycott movement, but then it escalated rapidly as you get far left political groups and militant labor unions joining in.
Mm-hmm. And it's not a small-scale protest. You said nobody protests like the French. 그런데 정말 대규모더라고요. 제가 보니까 18만 명. That is a huge number.
Right. It's huge. And it's in response to austerity measures, which means usually government policies that would boost taxes and then cut spending on public projects, reducing deficits, basically making things a bit harder for people.
네, 여기서 austere가 꾸밈 없는 소박한 이런 뜻이거든요. 그래서 austerity measures by the government라고 하면 긴축 조치, 즉 예산을 줄인다는 얘기입니다. austerity measures.
Right. And this protest has been dubbed the Block Everything movement. To dub something means to give it a nickname or to just give something a name, basically, in this case. There's a few different meanings, of course. It also means to add a soundtrack that is not the original soundtrack to a movie as well.
네, 그래서 우리가 애니메이션 더빙이라고 하잖아요.
네.
같은 어원이에요. 새로운 무언가를 주다라는 뜻이거든요. 그래서 더빙은 새로운 목소리를 주는 거고 to be dubbed something은 새로운 이름을 주는 겁니다. To be dubbed something 뭐뭐로 불리는. For example, he was dubbed the king of pop. 팝의 왕으로 불린다.
네. So these protests are in opposition to the austerity measures. If you're doing something in opposition to something else, you're doing it against that thing. Like he spoke in opposition to the new law, for example.
우리가 opposite은 반대라고 하잖아요. 그래서 in opposition to라고 하면 뭐뭐에 대항해라는 뜻입니다. In opposition to.
Right? And it's causing widespread unrest. So unrest is like chaos, basically. So, and widespread means all over the place. So large scale public disturbance and dissatisfaction.
Yeah, 이거 전국적으로 지금 시위하고 있는 거잖아요. So it's very widespread indeed. 광범위한 불안정을 widespread unrest라고 합니다.
네.
Okay, here is the article once more. A massive protest, dubbed the Block Everything movement, has spread across France in opposition to the government's austerity measures. Roads and schools have been shut down and hundreds have been arrested, leading to widespread unrest.